And welcome back, and we have with us the familiar face of Lindell John Kay this morning. He is a staff writer for the Rocky Mountain Telegram. We appreciate you being on this morning again.
Yep,
always glad to have you.
Lindell
has done some, Lindell has done some really good stories. Lindell is the messenger, so the messenger gets shot a lot.
Yeah, it's probably the oldest cliche in history.
It is, so, and you know, they say don't shoot the messenger, and you know, we get the same thing when we report stories. You know, I think Rocky Mount in general is appreciative of the media that they have. I think the people I talk to are so appreciative, Lindell, that they have the paper and us, and you know, to bring these things out, and it's just necessary. I'm sorry.
That's the exact word I was about to use, is that it is necessary.
It's necessary. You know, you made a good comment earlier. A lot of things aren't brought out without us, and then it starts sometimes a whole chain of maybe good things to come.
Well, I mean, Thomas Jefferson said the choice between free press and government, he would take free press. So,
yes, you know. Absolutely. So anyway, we were in attendance last night at the council meeting, and we showed the mayor.
Leading up to that meeting, or leading up to this week, you know, I was nervous. My stomach was hurting. I had a headache. I couldn't sleep. I was all worried, you know. And then I got to the meeting, and I saw you, and you told me that that Clint wasn't going to be on TV this morning, that it was going to be you. So I slept like a baby last night. I was so worried about that.
He was terrified it was going to be Clint.
You know, so,
poor Clint. And
so
I'm
it's all
sure
good
you're
now.
Listening. But anyway, and he's probably laughing. But anyway, he did tell me that, and I thought that was funny. But
I was worried. That was my major concern over the weekend.
Well, Lindell's my guest. I mean, I love having Lindell on, and I think we work well together as media. So anyway, so last night, Lindell, what did you think? I mean, it was basically divided.
It was, and it was divided because some of the people who told me some things they were going to say, they didn't say.
Right.
And I think people get swept up in the moment.
Right.
And I mean, for instance, the Reverend Walker, who actually saved my life, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, he gave me a book a couple years ago about prostate cancer. And it scared the bejesus out of me, and I went and I had a prostate problem I didn't even know about.
Wow.
So, you know, I mean, I'm always going to love Thomas Walker for that.
That's right, absolutely.
But he sent a statement to the newspaper that was different than the statement he made in public.
Well, he showed me what he had last night.
Yeah, and I think the key word that he didn't say in public that is in his statement is that he thinks that the city manager should be given certain expectations. And I think that's a really key word, because he's acknowledging that there's just a problem, you know. And so he's saying, and then I mean that goes into what Tom Rogers' statement said, and in the atmosphere of yesterday, I lost what Tom Rogers said, to be honest with you. So I think it's really important that he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that this independent in-depth review was going to look at. And
what are they?
That is employee morale, employee turnover, compensation practices, hiring practices, financial management, and HUD's relationship with the city. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I've been writing about for 2 weeks.
That's exactly what Lindell's had in the paper.
But I understand their point of view, and that is that they can't take action based on a newspaper report.
Well,
I respect that.
Surely not.
But let's have this review, and let's find out what, you know, like there were some people that said in the meeting yesterday, we want to know what. First thing that my publisher asked me was when I sent the thing and I said they're going to have a review, the first thing he said, well, who's going to do that? You know, who's running the review? We need to.
That was my question.
We need some transparency on it.
We do.
And we need some swiftness to it.
Do you think they'll let us see the results?
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I doubt it. Because a lot of it will fall under personnel.
Yeah.
So we may not see the report, but I think it behooves them to show to make public the results. You know, I mean,
yes.
So absolutely. We may not know what the report actually says, but we need to see the action that results from that report.
Sure, absolutely. So this has opened up, I think the article's opened up all of these things to be, to be investigated and looked at, and that's good. I mean, something needed to be done. So,
well,
anyway.
I mean, the mayor picked on the 16 days straight.
Yes.
And, I mean, if it had been 1 or 2 days, where would we be at?
Yeah, he called it media pressure.
Yeah,
media pressure. I love that.
Yeah, so I mean, if you weren't here doing what you do every day, and if the newspaper didn't have stories, and there's a lot of social media people out there that do things. Of course, they don't vet things as much as I would like them to sometimes. But I mean, if they weren't doing that, then what would happen? I mean, what would be the result in our government if the news media wasn't asking questions all the time?
Well, it was kind of, to me though, Lindell, last night, the decision was already made, and I know public comments are allowed at a council meeting, but what was the point? What was the point?
I guess just to let the people vent. I mean, like you said, the decision had already been made, but the structure of the meetings, they have public comment one way or another. I mean, I've been,
and they do. So
yeah, I've been to some meetings where there's 10 people there.
And I thought they did it very fair. They alternated.
That was a concern for a lot of people.
It was.
If you just if you take it first come first serve, you might get 20 people on either side of this thing. So yeah, I
were
mean,
very fair with
I think
it.
they did conduct that. They conducted that meeting very well, and I think the statement that the mayor made, that he doesn't, he doesn't have as much power as people think he does.
Right.
I mean, he's basically a tiebreaker.
That's exactly
and there's
what
never been a tie to break.
And a ribbon cutter.
Right, and a ribbon cutter.
That's what a mayor does, basically. But now, I did see a mayor break a tie. Mayor Fred Turnage broke the tie for Lois to become a council person. She was an appointment at that time. She was an appointment, and it was a tie, and he broke the tie in favor of Lois. Sure did. So anyway, mayors do break ties. It does happen. It does happen.
Well, they have to be in that position first, right? And we have a council that almost always votes unanimously. And what they do is they may not vote that way in closed session, but they almost always vote unanimously in open session.
Right.
So that shows a unified front, but it also puts us in the positions that sometimes council people may not agree with what's happening.
Right, right.
But they don't necessarily say it publicly, and I don't know that that's good.
I don't like
everybody.
that. Well, I don't like that.
No, I don't like that either.
Never liked that. I tell them, I try to tell the council people that I know, vote, let the record show your vote. Let the record show your vote.
Right.
Please. So anyway, and I think a few times that has happened. So anyway, we're going to take our break. It was almost break time when we came home. But anyway, we're going to take our break, come back with meteorologist Fred Holsworth with our local weather, and we'll be back. We're going to ask Lindell Kay to stay here and finish out the show with us. Just tuned in. I hope not. I hope you've been watching the whole show. But anyway, we have Lindell John Kay from the Telegram. We're just discussing stories and things going on. And what do you think, Lindell, is behind all of the things that are going on at City Hall?
Well, I mean, you look at 2016. You look at 2016, business was booming downtown. Right. We had this, I remember going to a meeting with there were 100 out-of-town real estate people, investors, that were coming here that were ready to just put money in. They were ready to make downtown Rocky Mount what downtown Durham is now. Yeah, I went to a couple of those TRIA meetings. Right, exactly. And everybody was pumped up. That's right, they were. And there was this ratio plan that the city paid money for that, like, it's that Imagine campaign that, imagine what downtown could look like and all that. Well, that was 2016, and then mid-2017, when the city manager got here, nothing. And I mean, it's empirical evidence. It ain't just me saying it. I mean, it's the website, the city's downtown website that they pay money for every month hasn't been updated since February. You know, so I mean, it's like, well, you know, I mean, there's all these little things. If you're not updating the downtown website, how much do you care about it? And then there's the Landis, Dr. Falcone is the only department head that's not listed on the city website. You can't find her, you know, you can't find any information about her on the city website, but she's supposed to be the community developer, but she's not in the community. Okay, so it all.
Well, if you ask, to interrupt you, you know, I've talked to several downtown people, business owners, and they all say the same thing. Right. We don't see her.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely not. And then you know, you just begin to. Is that by design? You know, is that?
Wonder.
Yeah, it does. And where that leads us to is Councilman Knight and Councilman Blackwell to an extent, but a lot of Councilman Knight is this talk of gentrification. Mm-hmm. You know, and that is an honest, serious concern, that you don't want to lose historical black communities to rich white investors who move in, push out all the black folks, and then they take over the town. You don't want that. I mean, you know, no one wants that, I don't think.
Right.
But that's not what's going on here. What's going on here is that there has been a stifling, there's been a complete shutdown of outside investment, except for investment that is linked to or approved of by these council members.
But we have spent $40+ on an event center.
Right.
And now downtown's.
Right. Well, I mean, like I've showed before in reporting, and then I think we did it again on Sunday, Councilman Knight and Councilman Blackwell have both engaged in obtaining property downtown and then sitting on it.
Right.
You know, the China America building was going to be a Rocky Mountain Mills in downtown.
Right.
It was going to have apartments, shops, all of that stuff. It was going to be, I mean, I talked to the guy who was going to do it. He's now down in Wilson putting millions of dollars into the Wilson economy.
Right.
They were going to do that here, but then Councilman Blackwell made an 11th hour behind the scenes move to take that from them and give it to the OIC, and the OIC has done nothing with it except for make a warehouse, a first floor warehouse. The rest of that building has gone to waste. And there was a gentleman that made a really good comment yesterday about conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
And we have a councilman that is the executive director of the OIC, who makes, you know, I think the last I could find out about $140,000 a year, which is fine. But you know, he drives a BMW, which is fine. But the idea that he votes, he has always voted on OIC matters.
Right.
And he has the lawyer every time read a little statement saying that he doesn't directly benefit from this money because he told me that the money for his paycheck and all that comes from money that the OIC raises, and then all this other stuff is from money that's given to them by the city and the federal government and all that stuff. But I mean, isn't that all in the same pot? You know, isn't that the same thing? I mean, you know, so I mean, honestly, so I think the city in reviewing the manager and all these situations, they really need to take a really hard look at conflict of interest, because there's some new federal guidelines that come down that have changed things. And so you really have to look at conflict of interest. And then the other part of that is we covered is the internal auditor. The city has an internal auditor, you know, that good for them, that's commendable.
Right.
But the internal auditor answers directly to the city manager. And you know, so I mean the word audit kind of implies a level of independence.
What good is an internal auditor?
Right, what good is an auditor, right, if they report to the people that they're investigating. So Durham has a system where, I think we did a story with Bronson Williams where he was saying that he looked at Durham, and Durham has a system where not only do they look at where the money goes, but they look at what's done with the money after it gets there. So, I mean, if we really began to look at what happens to the money after it gets somewhere, I think it'd be a really eye-opening experience for Rocky Mount to see that where are these federal dollars that pass through the city. So the federal government gives a lot of money to the city, and then the city gives that money to certain charities.
Right.
What happens to that money after that?
We have got to come up with rules, though, that distinguish or whatever when a council member has to recuse themselves. We have got to have rules. I've
been in meetings. The gentleman said it very well yesterday, but he said he's been in 300 meetings. I've probably been in 3,000 meetings.
Right.
And I've seen people recuse themselves because their sisters, brothers, cousins, uncle dated their mom in high school. You know,
this was huge.
Right, but we're talking about the OIC, the votes to put the OIC into the event center.
Right.
I think that and new federal guidelines will have stipulated, and the city council has discussed it. But there should have been some recusing going on there.
Yeah, there really should.
Not only does Councilman Knight is the executive director there. I'm sorry, excuse me. Councilman Blackwell is the executive director there.
Yeah.
Councilman Knight's the chairman.
That's right.
Of that board. So I mean, there's huge conflicts of interest there.
It is.
But yet no one seems to ever address that in city government.
Absolutely not. Let's take a call, Lindell. Oops. Good morning. Call back, caller, if you'd like.
Was that Clint you hung up on him this time?
If we're lucky, Clint has a meeting this morning. No. Yeah, it is not ever addressed. And why? I mean, why did they not see it as a conflict of interest, though?
I mean, it's funny that the lawyer has to read that statement every time.
Every time.
Every time that there's a vote, the lawyer has to read that statement.
Good morning.
Good morning. I tell you, Lindell is a rock star. In my opinion, if he's out in public and somebody sees him, I think they need to buy his lunch.
Well, I agree with that part.
I
don't know about the rock star part, but I'll take a free lunch.
Yeah, you gonna be.
All the stories that you printed, Lindell, the most surprising one to me was the Daniels $130,000 salary. Coming in at that close to the maximum is unfathomable. As a previous city employee, you had to get approval from the council, of course, to go anywhere above midpoint, I think, to hire somebody. But, and to say that if he's got exceptional skills in that area, look, he was town manager of Sharpsburg, and I have talked to someone close to that worked in that administration.
And you live in Sharpsburg, do you not?
He signed off on a Parks and Rec grant, basically. He didn't work it. He didn't administer it. He just signed off on it. Does that give him exceptional skills in Parks and Rec? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, the key skill that he has is being friends with the city manager.
Oh, that's true. That's true, and another skill too, but we don't go into that. But I don't know if in the town of Selma, if he had the same exceptional skills in the Park Rec field or not. As a former town manager, he was making exceedingly too much money in Sharpsburg, and a new mayor came in and took care of that, and then he left. So he was making like $88,000 a year in Sharpsburg. So as a town manager of a small town, that was too much money for a town manager in Sharpsburg. So he left, and we went there. But be interesting to see what he did on the Parks and Rec field in Selma, because I don't agree with coming in at $3,000 below the maximum, as a department head.
Well, he was going to be the third assistant city manager,
right?
And then when the council,
the heir apparent,
right,
thing,
right, absolutely. When the council denied that, in a rare occasion that they denied something from the new city manager, she apparently hired him anyway and paid him what he was going to make.
But now the interesting thing is, they said they will revisit that.
Yeah.
It will be revisited for the third manager. So will he already be in, and she'll be promoting from within?
That's her plan. I mean, people can say whatever they want to, but I mean that's the plan. Is to, if he's already in place in city government, and he's already been a town manager elsewhere, it makes sense just to go ahead and make him the third city manager, right?
Ray Charles can see that. I mean, good gracious. So,
okay. Thank you for calling.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Lindell.
Yes, sir.
You're a rock star in my book, man.
Okay, well, you might get a free meal.
Well,
golly.
People keep saying that, but I haven't got one.
He's going to come up here and get all these free meals. Well, I'm going with you.
I have not got the free meal one yet.
I'm not going to sit up here and let you get free meals.
But you know what, though?
I got you up here.
A lot of those people that, two things when people say, oh, you know, you're doing a great job or whatever, that's kind of a double-edged sword because I think I've been doing a great job for years.
Yeah,
you know?
What do they say?
So, right. So, I mean, what they're really, what a lot of people, I'm not picking on this call, but I mean, what a lot of people are saying is, what you say agrees with what I think, therefore you've done a great job.
This one is
as a journalist, that's
right
not
now.
Yeah, as a journalist, that's not really a compliment to me because I mean, I've got a shelf full of awards. I do a good job. They pay me decently. I mean, I do a good job, and I always will. I haven't always. I mean, I had to learn what I'm doing. I've been doing it 20 years, but it's when people say, "Oh, you're doing a great job," it's because they agree. Or
it's what they want to hear at the time.
Right, yeah.
It's right now what we
Those
want
folks
to
need to
about.
hang on a few weeks because I'm sure that they'll be mad at me. You know, I'm sure I'll write something pretty soon that'll upset them. So it's a equal. You know, it's all across the board. People love me, hate me.
You know, journalists are funny to me. They're very thick-skinned. They have to be. You
Absolutely.
have to be thick-skinned to be a journalist. And if people are picking on you, to me, it means you're doing your job.
Yes.
So you want to be picked on, and it's okay. So anyway, that's just how it is.
I take insults. To me, insults are just as good as compliments.
Right.
I had a police chief in another location years ago tell me that I was the reason he had gray hair. He did not mean that as a compliment, but I mean that's one of the best compliments I ever got.
Absolutely, you were holding him accountable.
That's right.
You were holding him to the fire.
Absolutely.
That's funny. Okay. Well, we'll take one more call. Whoops. Okay. Well,
that was Clint too, right?
That probably was. Anyway, we only have a couple of minutes. So in closing, Lindell, more good stories to come. And you know,
let me jump in on this.
Okay.
We do have a few more stories to come because I have asked for emails. It's been 3 weeks now, I think, that since I've asked for these emails, and the city says they're forthcoming. And if they give me, and I have every reason to suspect that they will, but if they give me the emails without scrubbing them, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff in there. So, and I've asked for expense reports too. I mean,
emails from?
Emails from the city manager.
Okay.
Emails to, from, and copied to the city manager for 6 months.
Okay.
I've also asked for a series of emails to the city council, certain city council people that, you know, we'll see. I'm not exactly sure whether that's going to pan out, but that's what you do when you ask questions, you find out and you see what you got. But when we get those emails, maybe we'll get an inside track on the thinking of the last few months.
Right, absolutely. Well, it'll be interesting. Stay tuned. There's more to come. So get the paper, watch WHIG, and
was that a plug? That was a plug.
That was, I always say get the paper. Hey, the paper
I
always
appreciate it.
is
Well,
good
my
to
kids
us.
appreciate that.
So get the paper and
buy me a meal.
watch WHIG and buy me and
quit saying
Lindell
you're going to buy
meal.
me. People, quit saying you're going to buy me a meal and buy me a meal.
Okay, somebody buy Lindell a meal. I'm going to take, we've got 1 second. Just tell him he's a rock star and hang up.
Oh, please, Sandra.
You were a rock star. I got one quick thing to say. This is one time I think that warrants an investigation by the FBI and that the Attorney General's office needs to be brought in here. This is something that we can't handle by ourselves. We've been hoodwinked into this city council and their decisions and the city management. We're going in the direction of Henderson. Same thing 30 years ago. They had the same problem, but no one stood up. We need to really stand up and get the Attorney General's office in here, and let's see what's really going on behind these closed doors.
Okay.
Well, have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. We got to go, Lindell. Thank you for coming.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll have Lindell back when the emails come in. But anyway, we're going to hold our breath.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Don't forget to watch. Clint will be here. Yes, you don't have to shake in your boots anymore. So anyway, have a great day, everybody.